Good evening, Marcia. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. And just let me begin by saying I want this segment to be a continuation of Mr. Hines's, because I was listening for the last 20 minutes or so, and it's very illuminating. And I want to suggest to him that he should visit our parliament and speak to several of the parliamentarians who seem unaware as to the constitutional system in which they are operating. And I say that in all seriousness. I'm discovering that a lot of people in there seem not to understand the system. So thanks to him, and I hope that I can add something equally illuminating tonight. And as always, I always say, you know, Marcia, thanks to you, thanks to this show. Last year when I did what I had to do, I absolutely had to do it. I was shocked when I got to the premises of Parliament and saw you and some other people there. I wasn't expecting that. I think that's the first time we met.
Yes, that's the first time. Yeah, yes. The first time we met.
Look, I continue to say thanks to you for that welcome to Parliament. And this show has really brought a new consciousness to Barbadians as to their rights, as to the need to question the government, that the government should not ever see itself as all-powerful. And this is one of the, I mean, outside of the mainstream media, and I consider you mainstream media, by the way. But you're the only... I
don't know if that's a compliment, but go ahead.
It is a compliment. It is a compliment. You are mainstream media, and we're not seeing a lot of courage expressed in the mainstream media. You're the only one really expressing the courage to oppose a government, and a very powerful government. That power is not legitimate, but it is ever present in our lives. And you are the only part of the mainstream media that is displaying courage, apart, I would think, from Maria Bradshaw.
Yeah, Maria. Oh, she's awesome.
Deserves some special mention, and I will have something to say about Maria's intervention in the last.
But before you go further, I want to use this opportunity to talk about the team, because you know I come on the show and it bears my name, but I have such a formidable team, Mr. Thorne. You know, the likes of Maxine McLean and Caswell when he was able to come on. And, you know, I mean, there's so many, Rose Corbin and Dr. Ferdinand Nichols and everybody. I can't call everybody's name right now. But thanks to all the guests and to the viewers, and they've made us strong and made us, you know, relevant and bold.
Yes, they have been a wonderful team in support of the star.
No, you know, we don't want to do that.
I say.
We don't want to do that. I forgot Kimar. But I want to mention everybody, you know, and everybody's contributed in some way.
You forgot Glenn Murray.
And Glenn Murray. Oh, no, Glenn Murray.
That's not forgivable.
Not forgivable. Lordy, Glenn Murray, I am sorry. My head, you know, I'm trying to make my head come down. That's what.
In the moment that happened.
Yes,
you're not reading a script.
It happens. It really happens. Glenn Murray, I mean, he's been so every step of the way, and every time, a minute of the day, he's messaging me. Did you see this? You know, you need to correct this. I learned so much from them. You know, it's an honor being among them and learning, etc. But Mr. Thorne, before you go, you know, because we're all ready, because when you start to speak, we know some golden nuggets gonna drop. But listen, Mr. Thorne, do you know? Look at this picture on the screen.
Yeah.
You remember this picture?
That's we're coming across the bridge.
Yes.
And which particular march was that?
That's
the first one.
The first one. And do you know what date that was last year?
Oh dear. Was it soon after I did the business?
Yes. When you crossed the floor.
Yes.
It was actually 1 year ago, sir.
Really? Today?
It was March 22nd. March 23rd. 23rd. Because it would have, tomorrow is one year. Do you see how
Yes.
things line up? Isn't
Yes.
that
Yes.
amazing?
Yes, it is amazing. It is amazing. It means that we are consistent, and a part of integrity is consistency. Um, so that we're being consistent. We are still fighting the good fight. We've
Yes,
kept the faith.
but the way how the dates line up, and I think Dave, you have a little piece of that speech that he gave that we can play before he jumps in. Let's see if we can get a piece of that speech, and people are welcoming you to the show. Somebody says here, Mr. Thorne, you give me a reason to listen to the debates again.
Thanks a lot.
Yes,
Monica,
good night, Brother Ralph. You know, people are welcoming you, but let's go ahead, Dave.
People, and if we are people with self-esteem, and if we are people with pride, if we are people who recognize that our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents sacrificed to build this country, what do we have to be ashamed of? And we do not come with any spirit of fear. And we will do this and continue to do this because I want to thank you for the support you've given me. I really want to thank you, Barbados, Marcia, Lamamba, Bongo Lights, Kimar, Caswell. I really want to thank you for reminding this country that there are some voices out there who are still interested in pursuing justice and democracy against tyrannical rule, because it is clear to you at this point that one person is running Barbados. One person is running Barbados. One person is making all of the decisions. But we come in defiance of that one person. And we come to this place this Saturday afternoon because we are not afraid. And courage and integrity and honesty and decency will be a part of.
Yes, Mr. Thorne. What's going to your mind as you're watching that? That's a year ago. And I'm always amazed with just the way things line up with you. And that's one of the reasons I know that you might, I don't know, I'm sure you know that I believe God led you to make the move you made. But when these things begin to line up, I'm like, wow. But what's going through your mind as you're watching that?
I'll tell you something very silly. I almost wore the same pants tonight. But different shirt. This may be a little immodest. The power in my voice. Then the conviction. I try to watch myself objectively just now. The power of my conviction, the confidence with which I spoke. I spoke like somebody there having been liberated from a set of circumstances which were oppressive. And as I said when I went to the president's house, I said in the interview afterwards that it was not a simple departure, but that it was an extrication from oppressive circumstances. And watching that just now, I did not have a script, but it is the conviction with which I spoke, Marcia. And I think that was one of the moments that it was a catharsis. It was a moment in which I felt, look, this is where I need to be. I need to be out of those circumstances. Whatever is the sacrifice, I needed to be out of those circumstances. One of our candidates told me this week that she used to listen to me on the government benches, and I used to sound very conflicted. And at first, I was a little concerned. I said, "You were seeing that?" And she said, "Yes, you were sounding a little conflicted when you spoke there." But certainly, I wasn't sounding conflicted there. I sounded like a liberated individual, and I don't say that to sound good. I try to look at myself objectively there, and that's what I saw. I saw the power of conviction. I saw something that was within me that probably wanted to come out.
Yes,
and
yes.
Thank God it came out, and thank God I came out. And
yes.
You know, Marcia, look, somebody was reminding me last night that when on what day was it? What day did I do the reply? Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yes. And just before I went on, I received a call from a party member, and she handed the phone to somebody, and that person prayed with me. And I've been getting so much of that. A lady met me. A lady met me this week, and she said, "You know, Ralph, every night at midnight I pray for you." And I said, "Why midnight?" I've met so many people. People send me WhatsApp messages, and they send me Bible verses every morning, and that really strengthens me. If nothing else, this experience has strengthened my faith in God.
Wow.
You know, yeah. I don't pretend to people that I came to this as any devout Christian. I did not come to this as a devout Christian. I came though with a past, a history of parents. I was telling somebody today, we used to get lashes to go to church. If we were late, we would get lashes. And we were mischievous in church. But you know, Marcia,
Yes.
that is a part of my experience, which has shaped me as a human being. The experience of having gone to church every Sunday throughout my childhood into my late teens, around 20. And that has stayed with me. And this experience, this walk out of the government and into the opposition has been transfigured or transformed into a spiritual walk, because people have been telling me, look, it is God who led you. And I hear that so often that I cannot now disbelieve it.
Mm-hmm.
And people send me Bible verses every morning. They call, as I say, a few minutes before I went on last Tuesday, the lady prayed with me. And I want to say to you that I had no idea that I would have spoken for 10.5 hours. I had no idea I would have done that. So, you know, perhaps God puts you into situations, or God puts things into you. He makes you a vessel. And that has been the experience. It has not only been political, I am convinced, Marcia, it has also been spiritual. Whatever happens, whatever is God's will, what I've gone through over the last year, what I'm going through now, I feel it is spiritual engagement. I feel that that is what carries me. Because let me tell you, the adversity that I have faced, I don't know why I laugh, but the adversity that I have endured, I have not endured anything like this. But you know, I've made some good friends. I have tried to ignore the antipathy. I've tried to ignore the adversity. And I have tried to focus on people who have shown me love. This encounter has been an experience in meeting people who express love towards me. And I cannot think of anything else that is as powerful as love. I was reading that, and for many years I was hearing it. But you fight the adversity with love. Yeah?
Yes.
And forgiveness. I'm learning forgiveness.
Yes.
I see things about me written on social media, and trust me, you know, Marcia, if I could sit with some of those people, I would. I actually would, because, as I say, at a certain age, you just pour your soul out to people, and you find your own humility, and you find the power in humility, and you can go to your grave holding these grudges. You really can.
Yes, forgiveness. I love that.
Experience.
Yes, it is, and I can see that. I can see that. Now, tomorrow is another march, and you know, a year
I'm
later.
really looking forward to that.
And you're going to be there tomorrow, sir?
It begins at 10. Look for me at 9.
You're going to be at the march. So what is it about this march that you say to yourself, I have to be at this march? Why is it important for Mr. Thorne to be at this march tomorrow?
There's something happening in Barbados. We know what the government is doing. A lot of what the government is doing, it's not only wrong on the face of it, but it is government's approach to what they're doing. They're doing things by stealth. And Holtown, for example, by the time Holtown reaches public notice, so much has happened. And I think the public resents that things are coming to public notice when they're done, when the deals have been done. We will discover this with Gemmett's Lane as well, that by the time the work starts, or by the time it gets to Parliament, let me say that, government has done everything in secret. And you know, the example of that, the example of that is the small project there at Bullins Agricultural Station. And I've been telling this story quite a lot. They came to Parliament to convert Bullins Agricultural Station into housing, vesting the land for the purpose of housing. So there I am, I get up and I say, I make my speech and I say it is right next to Highway 1. It's on the tourist belt.
Yes.
So I'm conjecturing, oh, they're changing this agricultural station into tourism. And I say in my speech, and I'm sure that the government will build expensive villas down there because it is near to the tourist belt. And somebody, I wouldn't say who, but one of the ministers started to laugh and say, oh, he didn't even know the house is done. So the houses were built. So that by the time they were vesting the land, by the time Parliament was vesting the land, to convert from agriculture to housing, they had already built the houses. Now, legally and administratively, that is wrong, because it meant that they went and built houses on lands that ought not to have been used for that purpose, because Parliament had not yet vested the land for the purpose of building. They did it the wrong way around. Suppose something had happened, suppose for some reason or another Parliament could not meet because of some emergency for a couple of weeks, couple of months. It means that administratively, I beg your pardon, and legally, they would have had a conundrum. And I went to Walter Blackman's funeral. So after they told me, oh, he don't even know the house is built already. So I left Walter's funeral and said, Peter, and I'm driving up the coast and I say, well, I'm going to see these houses. And I drive into Bullins Agricultural Station and there are the houses done already. You know, and Parliament, in other words, not Parliament, government built the houses when they when they had no legal authority to do it.
Wow.
Because the lands were not vested in the person in whom they wanted to vest the land, so that they went and built houses, or somebody went and built a house when he had no legal authority, and when the lands were not vested for the building of those houses. And Marcia, that is an example of how government has been functioning. And we discover that Coletown is the same thing.
Correct.
Yes. I remember the day the Coletown matter came to Parliament. And the morning, it was some other piece of legislation. And I spent the whole morning attacking the government on what they had done in the morning. And then they brought the Coletown matter in the afternoon. And I was very mild. And I said, look, I'm going to deal with this Coletown thing by just asking government some questions. I asked them, for example, in whose name are you vesting these lands at Coletown? I asked them about the price. I asked them about the question of flooding. And I remember the Minister of Foreign Affairs got up and said, oh, we've seen two versions of the same man in one day. He was basically saying, oh, this morning he was angry, but this afternoon he's very mild. And they didn't know what I was doing. I was being mild because I wanted them to be forthcoming with be forthcoming with information. One of them got up and said, oh, the lands are being invested in BPI, that's Barbados Tourism Investment Inc. And he said, and we are getting a loan from ICB of $40 million to build some tourism facility. Another one got up, not going to call name, another one got up and said one said it was 46, one said 40. So I left here on government information. Thanks very much, Adrian. That's very sweet of you. One got up and said 46 million. The other one said 40 million. And that ICB was lending the money to BPI. That's how I understood it. In the aftermath, I've read so much in the media to suggest that government was not candid, that government was not being truthful.
Right.
That, in fact, this seems to be a transaction, the details of which were not given in Parliament. So that what they told me was not all that there was to this transaction. Again, Marcia, that illustrates how government is functioning. That government is functioning in secret, and by the time the thing comes to public attention, it's all done. We can do nothing about it. So that what we're going to do tomorrow is symbolic, because government has done what it has done already. It's done legally, and, well, I should say legislatively, it's done. So we are protesting really against the manner in which government is functioning. And government is functioning abusively of its power. Normally, when you have these developments, a government that is functioning in the interest of people,
Yes.
and a government that is functioning with transparency and openness, those words have become cliches. They mean nothing now. Transparency is a cliche. Openness is a cliche. And you know, a cliche is just a string of words together that lack meaning. So a lot of these words now in Barbados mean nothing because the government has no respect for transparency and openness, and they're doing things and we don't know. So we are protesting after the fact. So that our protest now is a protest, as I said before and I'll say it again, our protest is a protest against government's repeated abuse of power. By the time we realize what's happening, by the time the works begin, it's all done. They have an obligation. A government that is transparent and open has an obligation to come to people. Look, when the Hyatt was first planned, there were, and it went to court, one of the lawyers argued that you must have a town hall meeting, that the public must have an input. You don't have to have money to have an input, but you have an interest as a citizen.
Yes.
And it is in the citizen's interest that his country develops in a manner that is compatible with his pace, and you know, and that you preserve heritage, that it is something that we would like and that we want, because the citizen does have an interest. The citizen,
Yes.
you do not have to have money. You do not have to be a millionaire to have rights, to have moral rights. And government is morally obliged to hold a town hall meeting so that the citizens say what is their view as to a country's development. We have a vested interest in the nature, the manner of a country's development. We as citizens have that right. And I think that is something the courts may well have declared. But government is not doing that. And the point is, government is doing these things, hiding these projects and these plans from people. And by the time it gets to Parliament, all done. All
It's
done.
done.
I oppose it. I opposed it last Thursday night, I think it was. I had mentioned it in my reply. It means nothing.
It means nothing.
You
know,
Absolutely. But
you know,
Margaret,
go ahead,
it
Mr.
means something. It means something to people in Barbados.
yes.
This oppressive manner, and the theme of my reply: show me a democracy, and I'll show you a tyranny in the making. And I chose that because that is what is happening in Barbados. Barbados is under tyrannical rule. One person, and I say this without apology to her colleagues and my parliamentary colleagues, because they're my parliamentary colleagues. They're not my party colleagues, but they're my parliamentary colleagues. One person is dominant in that parliament. Marcia, I can assure you that just about every decision that is taken in this government is taken by name only. I say that confidently. I see a group of ministers in there who are emasculated, really, who have no power. They're powerless. I know for a fact, and I'm not going to tell out their secret, but I know for a fact that several decisions are taken governmentally, and the decision has been that of the Prime Minister. The proof of that, you want the proof of that?
Yeah.
Look, subconsciously, and not only subconsciously, listen to their patterns of speech. Whenever they're making a disclosure to the media, you know what they say? Oh, and the Prime Minister. And I'd like to thank the Prime Minister. And of course, you know, the Prime Minister gave approval to this. They never express themselves with ministerial authority. They speak only as the prime ministerial authority, and that is their language. And it has become so much a part of them because that is what is obtaining. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't think they are actually aware as to how their language reveals the relationship between them
Wow.
and the prime minister. They have no power and they're not allowed to exercise any power. I can tell you, I don't go to cabinet, obviously, but I get stories out of cabinet as to the behavior in there. I get those stories, and I'm sure they tell their families. They don't tell me, but perhaps somebody goes home in frustration, tells somebody, and somebody tells somebody.
Tell somebody, yeah. It
But
comes out.
you don't need those leakages from cabinet to know what is going on in there. When they speak to the media, they always refer, oh, the prime minister. And sometimes the simplest thing, you put enough of thanks. Oh, and I'm glad I want to report that the prime minister gave approval to this. Marcia, some of the most mundane activities.
Wow.
And every minister, from the senior ministers back down to the most junior, they always exercise or disclose this deference to the prime minister. A good prime minister allows her cabinet to function. A good leader, first of all, the first order of business and leadership, get a team that is competent. And when you get a team that is competent, invest your confidence in that team. It is a show of insecurity when you want for yourself all the power. And this is what democracy is about. Democracy is about broadening down responsibilities and powers and having a team. And I can't think of any prime minister before who has functioned in this manner. I really cannot, and I don't want to appear to be obsessively.
But I must say that Glenn Murray, who is 81 years old and would have been through several, seen several prime ministers. I mean, he has said that he has never seen anything like this, any type of governance like this. But when you take what you're just saying, speaking up, and you look at Gemma's Lane, the fact that here again you had a situation where Gemma's Lane, they were actually planning the what you call the groundbreaking ceremony before the whole thing was passed, before it went through the Senate. The ground, when I went in, they were clearing the place and getting it ready. Yeah.
Marcia, somebody sent me a letter yesterday. I hope it is genuine. And that letter comes from, I have to be very careful how I say this, but what I'm saying is factual, so I am not going to defame anybody. Somebody sent me a letter, and that letter claims to be from the bank. And this is in relation to the groundbreaking.
Yes.
That there's supposed to be a groundbreaking on Monday.
Yes, Monday.
Right. And that letter is saying that Gemma's Lane will be closed from 2 till 5. Now, the letter purports to be signed by the bank.
Yes.
Now, the bank does not have that authority. When you close a road, you are exercising power according to the law. And that law is called subsidiary legislation. The point I'm making to you, Marcia, the only person who can close a road in Barbados is the Commissioner of Police. Yes? Parliament passes laws. Yes? But they're laws called subsidiary laws. So if you're closing a public road, you need to have the legal authority to do that. Now, you're not going to convene Parliament to close off Gemma's Lane. So what you do, you give that authority to a functionary within the system, one person. And the person to whom you give that legal authority to pass that law, because when you, as I'm explaining to you, when you close Gemma's Lane, you can only close it by passing a law. You can the only person who can do that is a person with legal authority. The person in Barbados with the legal authority to close roads is the Commissioner of Police. This letter that I have seen, if it is authentic, it does not come from the Commissioner of Police. So you will find, for example, there's a road race around the harbor. And you will see a notice in, if the road race is on the Sunday, for example, maybe on the Saturday in the newspaper, you'd see the road around the harbor will be closed from 2 to 5. And under it, Commissioner of Police.
That's true. That is
Yes.
so. Let me see. Dave, is there Dave, if you check your WhatsApp, you'll see the letter. Let's put the letter that is alleged to have been coming from the bank.
Yes.
So we just
Yes.
it says the bank, but we are saying here we're not sure.
Right,
but
no.
it's alleged.
Whoever
Yes,
it is
go
from,
ahead.
Marcia, whoever it is from, if it
Yes.
is not from the Commissioner of Police, it has no legal validity. It is only the Commissioner of Police who can close the road, because the Commissioner of Police is responsible for traffic and directions of traffic and so on. So again, these abuses of power, this habit of people exceeding their powers, and a lot of that is that. Yeah, I think that's the letter. Now, if that letter is authentic, it is not in keeping with the law. There is no private entity in Barbados, and this bank is a private entity. There is no private entity in Barbados. Look, not even the Prime Minister can close the road. Not even a minister can close the road. It is the police. And it becomes legally effectual when it is published. Because one of the aspects of passing a law relating to roads is not only do you declare that the road should be closed, but you must publish.
Yes.
And publication is a requirement for this thing to become valid. Yes? So
Wow.
the commissioner can sit and say, well, the cycling union, for example, would say, oh, we want to use this road on Sunday, and the police, commissioner of police may write a letter. I don't know how they do it, but he could write a letter to the cycling union and say, yes, you have permission. But it does not become law until he publishes it in the newspaper. Why? Because the public must know. Yes? So this letter, if this letter is authentic, and if this letter is written to private people, that has no validity.
But Mr. Thorne, they keep
has no
breaking the
validity.
laws. They keep breaking the laws. It's like
Yeah,
from
you know.
one thing to the next. I remember when you had to come on here and let the people know that the tint, that when they made the decree about the tint, that it was not lawful, it was not legal, it was not supported by law. And here it is again. If Dave could go up, Dave, just go to, I think it's paragraph 3. So that those who have not seen this letter, right, this paragraph, right? During this time, yes,
the traffic will be restricted, pedestrian access will be maintained, but may be subject to temporary detours as necessary. Look, the most important words there are the words right at the bottom, after sincerely. Could Dave show us the...
Dave, can you go up? Yeah.
Sincerely. Right. Now that person does not have that authority. They don't have legislative authority in Barbados. That is the Commissioner of Police. And so that Barbadians understand what I'm saying, one of the other legal authorities in Barbados is the Chief Town Planner, for example. If you're building your house and the Chief Town Planner tells you, you cannot build within 8 feet of the boundary. That's a law. He has stipulated law, and he tells you that no, he doesn't have to publish that in the newspaper because that is between two neighbors. So the neighbors will know what the Chief Town Planner has said, and what the Chief Town Planner has said becomes the law. It is not parliamentary or national law. It is subsidiary law. It is subordinate to national law, but it is law all the same. And the Commissioner of Police has that power. If this letter is authentic, whoever that gentleman is, he is functioning beyond his legal authority. He has no authority to close any road in Barbados. And beyond that, he has no authority to be instructing people not to use the road. He doesn't have that authority. You see, so that is an example of as to what is happening in Barbados. And that is why I spoke. That is why my theme was show me a democracy, and I will show you a tyranny in the making. It's a free-for-all now, apparently. And people who have, so this represents, if this letter is authentic, and I have to give the proviso, if this letter is authentic, this reflects the breakdown And I know this sounds like a cliche, but this reflects the breakdown of law in Barbados. Because anybody is doing anything. And this gentleman, or whoever it is, does not have the authority to do this. He cannot close the road. But this is what is happening in Barbados. That power, what he may have, and what we are sure they have power. And power and law are two different things. Yes? And it seems to me that power now dominates over law in Barbados. If this is true, this is an exercise of power. But it is illegitimate power. The Commissioner of Police ought to be involved in this.
Yes.
Using his powers, his lawful powers, to regulate the flow of traffic, to close roads. You don't have that power, Marcia. I don't have it. We're private individuals. And unless this person can prove that this is done on behalf of the Commissioner of Police, this is not lawful. This is not lawful.
And you know,
So
this
even at that level, you're getting these what appear to be people stepping beyond their bounds. But when you have power, you use it. And that's where we seem to be in this country. That power dominates over law. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That is, I mean, and when you think that this is an issue that when you of all of the this overdevelopment and all the different areas, we think of Bay Street and BDF headquarters, and the list goes on. I think this Gemmett's Lane, this particular one is pulling at the heartstrings of Barbadians, and because in their mind, how could you give it away? You know, I think do you get that feedback from people, Mr. Thorne?
Oh yes, because there is a lot of hardship in Barbados, and there are a lot of our young people who cannot buy a piece of land. And I know the government is using the cultural argument, and I said during the debate last Thursday, the cultural argument is compelling. You know, to have a linkage with Africa, it's commendable. That is something you want, because our linkages have been based on the colonial experience. And the colonial experience is about being dominated by someone. And reconnecting with the homeland is noble and commendable. And it is good to do that. Except that in this case, they have gone beyond their bounds. This, as I said in Parliament, it is commendable to have this cultural connection based on a history that has not been kind to us, a history that has separated Africans in the diaspora from Africa. Yes, so it is good to make that reconnection in this way. So this is not a bad idea. It is not a bad idea to reconnect commercially. Yes, that is noble. But as I said in Parliament, there is a compelling cultural argument for that reconnection. But the commercial argument against this idea is stronger than the cultural argument in favor of the idea.
Yes.
Does that sound a little complicated?
Yes. Yeah, no, not really. Yeah, repeat.
There is a strong cultural argument for this relationship. Very strong cultural argument. We are reconnecting with the motherland or the fatherland. Well, let's say motherland, because the oldest human being ever found was a woman.
Yes.
So reconnecting, I know you like that.
Yeah.
The cultural argument is strong.
Yes.
The cultural argument in favor of this relationship. But the commercial argument against it is stronger than the cultural argument in favor of it. And why do I say that? One of the ways in which the government sold this idea last Thursday night, and let me start by saying the government snuck this into Parliament deliberately on Thursday night so that Barbadians would not notice. And Barbadians were not going to notice if the opposition person is not there. So we just say, and it came after the budget, a budget debate, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days of speeches, some listened to, some not listened to. And at the end of that, you bring this legislation to vet you bring a resolution, I beg your pardon, to vest these lands in this bank. I thought that was done deliberately. I thought it was a late night. I thought it was done to avoid public glare.
Yes, yes.
In fact, I had missed their speeches, and that's another story which I will tell you. So I went to Parliament, sat in my car, and listened to them because I knew it was coming. And as soon as they started on this resolution to vest this land, I walked in. And the person who was introducing the resolution became very agitated. And he did something very strange. Actually, I started to laugh hysterically. Personal attacks, I found that very amusing. The way he was saying things about me, it was very funny to me. But it upset him that he was saying nasty things and I was laughing. Anyhow, that's not the point. So he kept saying, and the leader of the opposition will object to this. How did he know that? Is that conscience? I have never heard a person bring a resolution to Parliament and anticipate opposition. So the fact that he was anticipating opposition, did he think he was doing something wrong? It's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. Yes. But I think they were disappointed that I came because they had not seen me the Wednesday. They had not seen me the whole of Thursday. And then Thursday night, they sneak in this thing, and this little fella walked in. And they start complaining that I am going.
When you walk in, you're walking on behalf of the people of Barbados. We love when you walk in.
And I tried to be very calm. And I said to them what I said to you. I was very calm about it. I basically made the same speech. The cultural argument is compelling. Linkages between Africa and the Caribbean, all well and good. But there is a commercial argument against it, which is stronger than the cultural argument for it. And let me tell you about the commercial argument. We've had the cultural argument, which favors it. Here's the commercial argument. They try to justify it by saying, oh, this has been done with CDB. CDB was given land free up there in Wildy and somewhere else. And that is true. CDB was given land free by this Barbados government. CDB is a different organization.
Yes.
CDB is a Caribbean Development Bank. The words tell you what it is. It is a development bank. Barbados is a founder member of the bank. And there is a sense in which the bank is not lending money to people. I don't think profit is the overwhelming motive.
Correct.
The overwhelming motive is, as the word says, development. It is about developing these island nations of the members, Barbados, Jamaica, all of us belong to this development bank. This bank is not a development bank in that way. This bank, and in fact, let me go back to the CDB. The CDB lends only to countries. And as I said, the overriding motive is not profit. The overriding motive of the Caribbean Development Bank is development. Of course, if they are to maintain themselves as a going concern, they must make a profit. They lend you money, you build something, and you pay interest, and they make money. They're there to make money. But that is not the overriding objective. Overriding objective is not to make profit on top of profit on top of profit on top of profit. It is about development. In other words, it is an arrangement between all of these countries for mutual development of these countries by having a development bank. This bank from Africa is not a development bank. This bank lends money to private persons. The Caribbean Development Bank does not lend to private persons. Let me repeat, because the public needs to know this. The Caribbean Development Bank lends only to countries for development. This African bank lends to private individuals, and private individuals would mean companies, private companies. I don't like calling people's names, but it was publicized, so I can say. Did it not lend $90 million US for the Hyatt? That was publicized. So I'm not bringing anything. I'm not, I'm not spreading people's business across the area. And they lent $25 million to Comey, Kensington Oval Management Inc.
Yes.
Now that is something that I want to come before the Public Accounts Committee, because I heard some noises out of Parliament, out of Senate this week, criticizing the PAC for not having met. Then the government closed down the PAC. When we tried to investigate Hope, the government ministers came in there and said to defer it. They don't want to discuss Hope. They don't want to investigate Hope. And they voted against me and my 2 senators at the time. But we'll come to that later. This bank lends to private individuals, Marcia, not for the overriding objective of development of a country. They lend for profit to private persons.
Yes.
Yes, and that is one of the fundamental differences. Now, they will come and tell you, well, the CARICOM countries have signed on. I think there are about 11. Bahamas, Barbados, can't remember all that. Now, they've signed on to this treaty. Let me say to you, Marcia, a treaty is a contract between countries. It can be 2 countries, it can be 13 countries. When you have a treaty between countries, it's just a contract. It is just a contract, but we call it a treaty. When it occurs between countries, it is called a treaty. That treaty does not become binding on the country until the country takes that treaty and takes it to its parliament and passes it as a law.
Okay.
Okay? So Barbados and Jamaica, for example, may sign a treaty for some, or let's say Barbados and Trinidad sign a treaty about fishing. That is a contract between Barbados and Trinidad over fishing, allowing Barbadian fishermen to come to Trinidad and fish in Trinidad waters. But one would say it's just an agreement between countries. It is not a part of the country's law. It is just 2 countries that sat and made this contract.
Right.
In order for it to become the law of that country, what do? You have to take it to parliament. So when it is a treaty between 2 countries, it is a part of international law. You following me, Mark?
Yes, I'm learning. Yes, yes, yes.
Good. So international law, some people say that there's nothing called international law. In order for it to be enforceable, yes, you have to take it to your parliament and bring it from the sphere of international law and bring it into the sphere of national law.
Yes.
When it becomes national law, then it binds you. Okay? So this treaty that has been signed between the bank and these 11 countries becomes law only when you bring it to the parliament. My understanding is that I think St. Lucia, St. Kitts, and Barbados are the only 3 countries that have made this treaty between the CARICOM countries and the African Bank part of their national law. Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Kitts. I think those are the 3.
Right, right.
Enough, Barbados made this law, this treaty between Barbados and the bank. They made it law last year, January. Now, you know what was happening in January last year with my life. I obviously was about to do a certain thing. So I was in there. I was in the parliament trying to behave myself. I tried to keep quiet, knowing that in a few hours I would be located in a different place. So I said nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, I said nothing. So that this law became law in Barbados since last year. A lot of Barbadians don't know that. In January last year, I believe it is January last year, we passed this law, which recognizes as a part of the law of Barbados this treaty that exists between the African Bank and Barbados. I repeat, as a treaty by itself, it has no legal force, it has no legal effect, it cannot be enforced in Barbados until it goes to Parliament and becomes part of the Barbados law. That was done last year. Between last year and now, how many Bajans knew? Did the government publicize it again?
Right.
Transparency, no transparency, no openness. And lo and behold, last Thursday night, you bring a piece of legislation, not a piece of legislation, you bring a resolution to the parliament, yes, vesting this land in Afreximbank, I think that's the pronunciation, for free. For free. And it is not the CDB, which is the development bank. It is a private entity. It is a private entity that has gone across Africa and is now into the Caribbean, not for the purposes, not for the overriding purpose of profit, of development.
Development, yeah.
They're for profit. It is like any other bank that is operating for profit, except that it has the sanctity of this treaty between the bank and these CARICOM countries, but only 3 have passed it into their law, and only Barbados has seen it fit. To give them how many acres of land? Free. It is a private enterprise entity that has been given acres of land.
Wow, yeah.
They are not, I repeat, they are not into the business of national development. They are into the business of private profit for themselves. Yes, but as I said, they have the sanctity of this treaty. Now, are Barbadians aware that this private for-profit entity has been given all the privileges and immunities that CDB would have, including not paying taxes?
Wow. Dave, if Dave could bring up that section, page, I think it's 10, Dave, but go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Thorne.
Yes. So that you give those privileges to CDB because of the nobility of CDB's mandate. Development, national development. So CDB, you may know, people who work at CDB, nice cushy jobs, they're well paid, they don't pay tax. And they have diplomatic immunity and diplomatic status. This company, which is of an entirely different concept, and I say entirely different because it is not a development bank in the way that CDB is a development bank, but they have been given diplomatic immunity, well, privileges, and I'm told that that privilege and immunity extends to tax liability. They're not going to be paying corporation tax, so that they have been given the same privileges or quite similar privileges to CDB, but they are not a CDB. And I defy the government to argue that they are akin to the CDB. They're not akin to the CDB. Yes, there it is. What is significant now that I'm seeing that on the screen? Ask this government why Trinidad and Jamaica rejected the arrangement. Trinidad and Jamaica have rejected the arrangement. My information last year when the bank came here and opened its office, my information is that Jamaica and Trinidad, and I think Trinidad in particular, rejected this proposal that you should come to Trinidad and you're not a development bank, as CDB is, and you want these privileges, you want these immunities, you want what is akin to diplomatic status. So Trinidad and Jamaica have rejected it entirely. Trinidad and Jamaica have not even signed on.
Yes, that's correct.
They rejected it. So look, when you're talking CARICOM and CARICOM solidarity, there is no CARICOM solidarity on this. 2 of the founder members of CARICOM, 2 of the founder members of CARIFTA, which was CARICOM before it became CARICOM, CARIFTA, 2 of those founder members are not party to this. In other words, they have nothing to do with it. That is instructive. Trinidad and Jamaica have the 2 most developed financial markets in the Caribbean. And Barbadians need to find that, to regard that with some significance. Trinidad and Jamaica have the 2 most developed financial markets in the Caribbean, and they have rejected it. So how is this being sold to Barbadians? You're hearing the usual nonsense. And Marcy, I don't want to get angry at your show. Oh, thousands of jobs. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. The people claim that they are building their headquarters and their hotels. How many rooms? 100 and how many? I'm here with Alvin Coppin, or St. Lucie man, who was at the town hall and did very well the other night. 140 rooms. 140 room hotel. How many rooms does the Hilton have? And how many people are employed at the Hilton? You know, this government is walking around Barbados with these exaggerated claims. We were discussing the Better Business legislation a few months ago. And one of the members stood up and said, oh, when we pass this legislation, there's trillions of dollars out there about to be unleashed, and we are going to get some of those trillions of dollars. Yesterday, we are getting 1 million sheep. Last year, we're getting 1 million trees.
Yes.
You know, and this, I sometimes wonder if the government thinks it's talking to children.
Yeah, they're building 10,000 homes, remember?
10,000 homes. 1 million trees they're planting.
Yes.
As I said yesterday, we're getting 1 million black belly sheep.
Oh.
I mean, look, as the old people say, you got to learn to laugh.
Yeah,
Because if you don't laugh, you're going mad. And this government is giving us an equal choice between laughter and insanity.
Yeah.
My advice to all of us, choose laughter.
Yes.
But be no less serious. Be no less serious about the need of this country. And I'm being very political on your show. I'm sorry. But the need that this country now must engage in getting rid of this government. I'm allowed to say that. I'm a politician. I'm the head of a political party. And please give me the right to say that this government is not serious about the future of this country. That when you're going to come to a country with these exaggerated claims and these exaggerated promises, and it is all very childish. It's reaching the point of being childish. And as I say, choose between laughter and insanity. If you don't laugh, you're going mad.
Mm-hmm.
And if madness is anger, let us not riot tomorrow, but let us show this government that we are not pleased, that we are actually angry. Yeah, we're angry. We're angry with the way in which government is doing its business. Government has lost all respect for Barbadians. They talked about the 1 million trees and the 1 million black belly sheep and the hundreds, the thousands of jobs that this 140-room hotel is going to create. And you're smiling very sweetly because you're not
it's funny.
But there's they mean for Barbadians to take it serious.
Yes.
Yeah, they mean for Barbadians to take it seriously. In other words, they're lying to Barbadians. They're taking us for fools. They're insulting our intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what this government has been about. I say it in Parliament all the time. This government's main industry is sweet talk. I have never seen a government that talks so sweetly about everything. We've prepared a list at the opposition office and at party headquarters about 30 projects that this government has started. And not one of them have they finished. The Republican Constitution, local government, reforms to the 11+, the ID card, the list is long.
Mm-hmm.
This government has brought several projects to Barbadians. And we've counted 30, I think, David. We've counted about 30. And they haven't completed any of them. How can you take them seriously? Do we have somebody walking through Barbados counting trees? You know, is somebody going to count the black belly sheep?
Correct.
You know, and Marcia, you laugh. But we have to learn to laugh. But after the laughter dies down, Barbadians have to make a decision soon, and very soon, as to whether they believe that this government has shown Barbadians enough respect to continue to be a government. You expect me to say that, but I'm saying it on a basis of proof and facts.
On facts, correct.
Yes, and this Afreximbank business is not good business. It is not good business. That you, and you know, one of the beautiful ideas I heard, I hadn't thought of it at first. You have the Queen Elizabeth Hospital right next door. Struggling badly. And that land, right next to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, an extension of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. But we've given it away. We didn't sell it, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's why Barbadians are angry. Barbadians are going to the supermarket and coming out broke after they leave the supermarket. They're coming out feeling distressed. You know, they really are spending too much money in the supermarket. They're paying light bills and feeling that the light bills are too high. Yeah. They're paying for the gas at the pump, not recognizing that when the tax used to be paid a one-off payment at MTW, it was far less than than it is now. That fuel tax is one of the biggest cons ever committed on Barbadians. You know how many thousands of somebody explained that to me this week. I don't know everything. And an economist explained that to me this week. That we are paying for our noses under the guise of a fuel tax.
I thank you. One of the opposition senators, Mr. Ryan. Ryan really broke that down. And by the way, they are doing a great job, both of them.
Thank you. Yes. And I love the dynamic between them. They're very supportive of the other. I'm very proud of them, actually. And I want to say, Marcia, allow me to this plug, this bit of PR. We have assembled a wonderful group of candidates, and I'm very proud of them. Young people. You hear the propaganda. Somebody wrote this week, oh, they got the new people. Again, choose between laughter and insanity.
Correct.
We have a team of good young candidates. People who are well experienced in life. Some are young, some are a little older. Alvin is here with me. How old you are now, Alvin? 52. Experienced man. So we're mixing.
Yes.
And at 52, a man is a man is a man. He's ready for life, whatever his.
But Mr. Thorne, when you think of Senator Ryan Walters and Senator Adrian Worrell, especially Senator Ryan Walters, right? When you think of him, where he was last year, this time, and how he presented, versus what you saw in Parliament as the leader of opposition. I mean, you chose him. He said to me, Marcio, I sometimes, I was wondering how come he chose me, and he said that on my show, and sometimes he said, I feel like, am I going to let down Mr. Thorne? No, when you listen to him in Parliament this week, what went through your head to see Ryan Walters speaking like that? Sounding like you.
One word, pride. Yeah, I feel really proud of those two young men. Really, really proud. And the conviction and the passion and the belief that what they're doing is the right thing, that they need to oppose this government. And Marcia, I saw one of the videos today. It was disgusting. The behavior somebody is getting up and insulting Andre.
Yes.
And then the nature of the laughter that erupted, it did not sound like a dignified parliament. And this government seems to be unaware that their behavior is gaining them even greater discredit among the population. The harassment and the heckling and the derisive laughter, Look, that's why when I finished my speech, I knew what was coming. And I've told people, and I'm not apologetic about this, I am not sitting down and facing a barrage of personal insults. I'm not doing it. That is beneath the dignity of a parliament. And I heard it repeated in the Senate this week.
Yes.
That he's making some silly joke, some very silly joke, which is a deep personal insult. There was no sophistication about it. And then the yelping that occurred after. I mean, it was terrible.
But you know what was great about Senator Andre Worrell, and from the time I met him, Senator Worrell at the last year, when you guys had the big meeting there, the annual general conference. It's the humility of this young man, and the way he spoke to me, the way he shook my hand. Not just him, but also the general secretary, Pedro. Yes. I mean, the spirit of these people, and so he took that in such grace, and he didn't let it faze him at all. And that's the strength of a leader. Andre, we are so proud of you.
I am.
And he even, you know, he makes jokes. He's making jokes of it on his on
Facebook.
his Facebook page and all of that. You know, when I was on Facebook, I saw it. Not on Facebook
Yes,
anymore.
yes,
But
yes.
you know, I just want to commend both of them and the way they both they rally around you, Mr. Thorne.
Thank you.
It is a blessing to see because we love to see the unity.
Yes. Well, let me give me a chance for this advertisement. We had an executive committee meeting last night,
Yes.
and I was telling David Boyne, I said, David, that's the best executive committee meeting I've attended, and it had less to do with the agenda and more to do with the spirit. Now, we normally say prayers. I think all organizations do this. You say a prayer at the beginning, but at the end, I say, no, look, let us do a prayer again. And I call on our reverend to do a prayer, and somebody said, man, I ain't praying. He said it in a light-hearted manner. I ain't praying, I go home. I said, no, I'm not going to call his name. I said, no, let us do this prayer. And Marcia, the prayer was done. And I mean, the dynamic and the spirit that we had last night, I have never quite experienced it that way at the DLT headquarters. So when you heard about there with the foolishness, about we have these problems that we up there fighting, it was a beautiful place last night. It was an oasis, and it was a group of people coming together to
Yes.
achieve one objective, to rescue this country.
Yes.
The recognition that we must have a common purpose, and our common purpose is to persuade the people of Barbados that the life term of this government has ended, and an election, we need to tell the people in Barbados that this is one of the more serious elections, and we have to bring the life of this government to an end through the polls, of course.
Yes, through the polls. Let's be clear. Let's be clear about that. And folks, all of what Mr. Thorne is saying is that you need to come out tomorrow and show your public display.
Yes.
Of
disapproval for how this government, disapproval against how this government has been functioning. And we're looking for a cross-section of Barbadians tomorrow, because I think Barbadians are now united in their discontent and dissatisfaction with the way this government is doing things, sneaking things upon us, doing things in the dark.
Yes.
And then when it comes to light, and look, Marcia, the only reason it is coming to light is because a lot of these things must come to the parliament. Now, this is not self-praise, but supposing we had a parliament of 30 love.
Right.
This would not have become an issue unless you used to make it an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But now, thank God, we have a parliament.
Correct.
With the DLT president. One in the House, two in the Senate. Who will oppose these things? Who will bring it to the level? Who will bring the people's opposition to the level of parliament? Your show has done, as I said, a marvelous job. The loyal opposition operating within this medium, within this space, and the protests and the marches that you do. But we have brought the opposition into parliament, and that is important.
Yes.
That is very important. Yeah?
Yes.
Because it sends a signal to the world that our parliament has not been unanimous in these injustices. And
we're happy that you guys are there. We are happy you're there as a unit and supporting each other. And when we see that, we said yes. And we are out here cheering you on. And as you talked about the unity, you could see the smile on my face and the relief, because we are working very hard out here, and we want to make sure that you guys are working very hard in there. We know you're working hard and that it's unified.